Hello, I'm Drew, um, and let's give you a quick tour of my portfolio. It's been quite an adventure just trying to record this. As always, with this class, it's not the first take. I've been trying that before, but getting kicked out of classrooms mid-recording by grad students who have a right to be there. But okay, so let's get started. So this was the course homepage. Boost Literature. The class is actually called English 366H, Literature and the Other Arts, but it's called Boost Lit because that's what we're doing. We're taking literature, using technology, expanding on it, being creative, etc. On this page, you can see tweets using the hashtag BoostLit, the tasks, we have the calendar, the assignments, all the above. But let's go to the BoostLit portfolio site. All right, here we go. BoostLit, Dan Anderson, the professor, the author, the coach, whatever you'd like to say. Sound teaching for literary studies. Here you go. Sounds play in our educational world all the time. Pausing to notice, to listen, to respond. But not in BoostLit. An undergraduate class engages sound directly in its assignments. And that is true. We have done lots of fun things with sound here in BoostLit. But alright, let's go explore my portfolio. The internet wants to work. Here we go, we have my portfolio page. Well, all the portfolios collected right here. Okay, here's mine, Drew Golba, A Sensory Journey. Alright, so, well, a little crude at the beginning, but Ernest Hemingway, the first draft of anything is shit. Slightly hyperbolic, but makes sense. The point of this class is not only just to engage with sound in a creative way, but to also revise, tinker, just do things you've never done before with literature, with software, use your computer as a canvas. And the next quote also has to do with revision by Truman Capote. I'm all for the scissors. I believe more in the scissors than I do in the pencil. It's pretty awesome. So, we'll give a little intro about BoostLit, how this is a pretty sweet English class, how I've had Dan before, how this is always a challenge because it's outside of the box, it's very creative. I'm a very point A to point B type of thinker, but I just have some free form prose talking about BoostLit and its power and how it's a pretty cool class. Let's see. Just kind of run through the portfolio here in the front. I think Dan, I call him the Bill Simmons to our Grantland, so hopefully some people appreciate that reference. And then I have the table of contents, and so we'll start with that. Alright, so first thing was the sound list. The assignment was to create an annotated list of 6 or more sounds that represent a character from a work of literature. I used a television series, my favorite television series, David Simon's The Wire, and I used one of my favorite characters from Bodhi. So here's my draft. There you go. We've got a picture of Bodhi. I kind of talk about The Wire and how The Wire's scope is kind of like an indictment of all the institutions in a city, and how Bodhi represents the failure of these institutions as they have not stayed true to the ideals of the American dream of upward mobility and all the above. So here you go. I have a run through some of the songs Anthony Hamilton's coming from Soulful Peace. It's an amazing song. It just kind of talks about hardships and getting out of those hardships. The next song, Curtis Mayfield's Pusher Man, makes sense because Buddy's a drug dealer. Pusher Man is a drug dealer, but it also talks about being the man, and that's kind of Bodhi's ambition. Mobb Deep, Survival of the Fittest, it's pattern. I like soulful types of music and rap, but Survival of the Fittest, it's gritty street narrative about just survival. Then I have a little comedy bit from George Carlin on the American Dream. The joke is, it's called the American Dream because you have to be asleep to believe it. And it's kind of what The Wire tells you. The American Dream is dead. Upward mobility, not happening. Then I use Factory Sound. Kind of compares drug trade to the factory. In the draft, I use the police car siren. Just because, it deals with the police. And then one of the greatest albums of all time, Illmatic, I use a song off of that by Nas and their AZ called Life's a Bitch. This kind of just encompasses Bodhi, I'm not trying to have any spoilers, you can read it, but he works so hard and then tragedy occurs. And it doesn't matter, because as the song says, life's a bitch and then you die. Here we go to the revised version of it. I have a screenshot of Dan's comments, and as usual, Dan's comments push you in the right direction. He talks about how I kind of talk about kind of like the plot of what happens to Bodhi too much instead of examining his psyche. So that was what I focused on in those revisions. Okay, so I used the same intro as before. I thought that was pretty good. Gives you the kind of the scope of everything. I keep primarily the same songs, the same tracks. I thought this was powerful, but here I kind of talk about the lyrics a little more, and kind of like the bass hitting you, and how that affects you. Pusher Man, I talk about the structure of the song more in this revision, and how the layering is depth, like narrative depth of Bodhi. Similarly, I talk about the beat and the dark piano loop and how powerful that is. George Carlin, again, I keep it, but I add on to it. I just kind of examined Bodhi psyche more, keep the factory, add on to it. Removed the police sounds because I thought that was pretty redundant. And I kept everything the same with Nas because I thought that was perfect. And then I have a little section here for reflections. I talk about why I love The Wire, why I love Bodhi, how he's complex, all the above. And then we'll go to the next page. This is the Syrian refugee crisis audio essay. I changed this one a lot, but the assignment was create an audio essay that brings together poetry and either one personal experience or two, a cultural concern. Interestingly, Well, we'll save it for later. Okay, so first, we'll play this. A sharp blue gaze. The UN factor. So what happened there? Began. The structure of that was I read this poem, Refugees by Martha Sprackland, and then I pretty much very loosely tied into the Syrian refugee crisis. It was okay. It was okay. And here's the script, blah blah blah. And then I do the revision. What Dan talks about is kind of the same thing. How it's not, they don't fit that well together. But then I talked to Dan in person, and what we really talked about was maybe I should just scrap the poetry in general and make it a political piece. And that's the angle I went with. So the new one opens up with news story. I talk a little bit. Obama clip. I talk a little bit more. New York Times journalist. I talk some more. News. Obama. Rinse. Repeat. It's like that. It's just a powerful political piece, in my opinion. I really enjoyed making it, and I think it's a very salient issue, and I think it's important that we do accept these refugees, and we do all we can to mitigate this horrible crisis. I mean, we played a big role in it, so probably try to solve it. And then here's like a Camtasia video of a walkthrough. Go, this is kind of like you see me right there talking right here. A little weird, but it's cool. The reflections. Again, talk about how I think we need to promote our liberal values worldwide, how the demagoguing of the refugees has been sickening to me, and I felt like it was an important project. I tried my best to do this issue justice in the project, and it was no longer a poetry piece, but it became a political piece that I felt was interesting, that I could play with the audio and then my narration, and I enjoyed it. I think it's good. I hope you guys enjoy it. E-poetry. We did lots of stuff with e-poetry. So for e-poetry, we did 2 different assignments. A screen performance where we kind of used the laptop as a canvas, and then the next one is that we used this software called Camtasia to create it. I've used Camtasia before with Dan, but I was kind of rusty, so there's one thing we kind of did like a practice piece, and it was, I was inspired by Whiplash, and I wrote from the personified perspective of a drum kit getting abused by this guy in Whiplash. I love the movie, so that's why I did it. But then for this e-poem, it was pretty cool. It was hard. I used Lorna D. Cervantes' A Chicano poem, which just talks about the experience of Latinos in America. Here's this.
Esta canción no está hecha un amor de pareja, esta canción está hecha al Perú. Esta canción está hecha con todo el alma, con toda la sangre. Cada frase que ustedes escuchen de esta canción, ojalá.
As you can see, there's tons and tons of tabs pulled up, and that was a crazy part of this. You had all of these tabs, all this layered audio, and it was fun. It was difficult though. I could not type fast enough at all, but I thought it was pretty interesting. And then this one, Still I Rise, was the e-poem, and there's Still I Rise, and then I have the revision as well. 12 Years a Slave and Selma are 2 of my favorite movies of the past couple of years, so I kind of wanted to talk about African Americans overcoming historical obstacles, and then I kind of tied in with Barack Obama's inauguration, which a great moment in history for sure.
Everything.
Here you can see that I used kind of like a quadrant format. That was something that Dan pushed back on, said maybe not so good, and he had some good things to say, you know. I could adjust everything a little better, which I agree with. So I can still, right here, I mean, this is still, you can still see the quadrant format, but instead I opened it up with single shots of 12 Years a Slave and Selma. I thought it was more powerful to do that. Reflections. This was my favorite of all the projects, The Still I Rise. I thought it was awesome. I had a great time piecing it together. These are two of my favorite movies, one of my favorite poems, and it involved my favorite politician. E-poetry was really interesting, and I hope everyone enjoys this. As you can see, this is the format of almost every page. This was the hardest thing for me, the Road video. Okay, so Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Dense, masterfully written novel. I think it won a Pulitzer. But man, this fit. For some reason, I just couldn't get inspired. Nothing to grab a hold of me. It was like, do this idea. So I struggled with it for a while. My first draft was so-so, in my opinion. But I used this one quote, talk about desolation, and I kind of tied it into climate change, but it definitely had some issues at first. Let's see. Yeah. He may have been a rush, but usually he says nice work at the very end. Didn't say nice work on this one. I tend to agree. I thought it was the worst of anything I've done in this class. I did have issues linking the quote with the phenomena of climate change and industrialization, but I think I worked with that idea better in the final. In the first I used the quotes in an annotation format, and this one I used a Google Doc and just captured myself typing that in a bland gray color to kind of fit the mood of The Road. This is kind of like a simplistic quadrant format, which Dan took issue with the Still I Rise draft, but I felt like this worked pretty well for this one. It was simplistic. It showed these clips from, one, harmful effects of climate change, but also this film Koyaanisqatsi that talks about the ever-changing world and how technology affects it. And then I also felt like I was able to link it a little bit better because there was this quote that I included that you'll have to watch to find out, but it does tie in with climate change much better than the draft, which is good. And then I have a reflection. I referenced the fact that I did not like my first draft, but there's that. And then this next page is going to be where this video is. Below is a picture-in-picture walkthrough. This will be that. A little cheeky Photos portfolio edition, as if this was like a travel experience. But I hope you guys enjoy everyone's work. Everyone did an unbelievable job. Dan is the man. Yeah, this was a really fun. I might end up writing something on this page too, so that would be sweet. Please check everything out, and I hope everyone enjoys it. Thanks.